is the general public perception about who they prefer to lead. First one is the general public perception about who they prefer to lead MPP. And on that score, Bawumia leads with 57.4% among all voters. Kennedy on 29.3% among all voters. Yao Iduchum 6%, Branchampon 4.6%, and Kwabena Ejepon 3.3%.
Abusian for me church Munina, Emma Munina, Aquaba, Sonkon, Edmund Ras Media so. Abusian for Musa Dankwa, I ain't no Musa Dankwa. Meka info analytics. Papa na oye research, political polls. Ewo Ghana maimwa after 2024 election. Waba be nipa bia oye post de ba abonten a ye ngina chinye. Wakwa ye post bi e de ehun sunsanso aba beto highway num. Na bra asem na uye Bawumia ni am wani nje. The intel so more an engine say Papa no ni post no koye ye no actually say MPP for the majority of the MPP for no say Dr. Alhaji Mahamadu Bawumia and the MPP anim. A researcher wa conduct our need delegates na din komo. Na some delegates can tell and say omono Omo pese Bawumia and the medium MPP anim. And to when ye the memeka na yes researcher yaya yadi abeto abontene. Na mesro say mebebo video no a wobetie no. But modern yanyan to was na tie and chire mu ode ma wo. De enam so chire se omo pese omo to aba no ma Bawumia no. Ode ni nyina bebre wo. De entia the Ghanaian and answer the MPP delegates and say omo de Dr. Bawumia enkwa ena se MPP de ne ba omo beto abanama no na we no enye me na meka oso wa ye research no ye no enye se okwa na obisa hwan na beto ama no papa ne ye research ye frame quantitative research obisa odi enti a oso beto aba na wa kyerɛkyerɛ ni mu enti meso se nya ntomase na ye nkonko tie Musa Dankwa enkyerɛkyerɛ mu ode baaye de enti MPP delegates ne se omo de Bawumia ena ye nipa omo nim no aye no nti ono mom ena se MPP penkunim di a e wo so omo nto aba number no ne percentage no ode baaye na emu so eso pa ti me pese mi nyina ye nkonko tie na where papa ne kasa no kasi so say nipo MPP ni titire wo MPP ni papa bia no ono de ese Dr. Bawumia to the yanko ne konkotie na ye ba na ya sign atwaso.
Have you've been doing monthly polls on a number of issues, political issues really, looking at the NDC and the MPP. What really do you hope to achieve with these monthly polls?
Let me clarify. We do quarterly national tracking poll every 3 months. But in the case of the MPP, because their primary is just near, we are doing monthly delegate polls.
Okay, monthly delegate
so for the MPP, we are talking to delegates every month, whereas in the case of national tracking, it is quarterly.
Okay, great.
Look, we have been doing this since 2019, and we have sought to provide the public the platform to hear the views of others. You know, your voice, just your voice. But your voice, when aggregated, becomes the voice of the people. So what we are doing is just bringing out what people are thinking and saying about national issues. And for the conversation to be kind of focused on data rather than hearsay. So what we're hoping to do is to inform and also educate people what people are saying to us they want to do. And we make it very clear that these are the preferences of voters. And then when it is delegate, because it's a delegate who elect the flag bearers, we make it clear, in this case, it is the delegate. We have not done delegates for the NDC, no. What we have done is delegates for MPP, and the general public preferences for the NDC.
Yes. So talking about that, how do you select a sample? Delegates are specific people.
Yes.
We don't know all of them. Of course, a lot of them are known. So how do you identify them and poll them? How do you do that?
We have the register of MPP delegates.
Okay.
With their telephone numbers.
Okay.
And we place random calls to each of these people, depending on the sample size. We allocate the sample size to each region based on the number of delegates who live there. So it's proportionally weighted. And then the calls are made randomly from the system to those delegates. In fact, in this survey that we just released, the 2,700 people we interviewed, they came from 241 constituencies, randomly.
I see. So now let's get into it. The MPP is going for primaries in January, and a number of persons have, expressed interest or actually picked forms to run. The persons include Dr. Bawumia, 2024 flag bearer, former vice president, Kennedy Japan, who entered the last race quite late, but people were impressed with his performance. Educhum, former education minister. Kwabna Ejipon is in there, and then Brian Champon, who is a first-timer, same as Educhum. What really are the polls saying in respect of these people?
There are two polls in this report. First one is the general public perception about who they prefer to lead MPP. And on that score, Bawumia leads with 57.4% among all voters. Kennedy on 29.3% among all voters. Educhum 6%, Brian Champon 4.6%, and Kwabna Ejipon 3.3%. But if you look at the delegates separately, then that looks a different picture. With the delegates, what you have is Bawumia leading with 47%, Kennedy Ejipon 17%, Brian Achampon 3%, Yao Ose Educhum 1%, and Kwabna Ejipon 1%. But there are 4% of delegates who said they will not disclose their voting to us. And then another 27% said they are undecided.
Usually, from your experience, when people say they won't disclose or they are undecided, what does that mean?
Usually what we've seen in the past is that those who are not disclosing are those who are anti-system, anti-establishment in the party, and they tend to vote for Kennedy. So from our experience, those guys could be safely said to be Kennedy supporters. Then you have those who are undecided. Some of them are generally undecided, but most of them, I think they are waiting to have an encounter with the delegate, with the flag bearers, to see what message they have for them. And also behind the message, or beside the message, there are things that happen in primaries, so they are waiting to see what happened.
Yeah, what do you mean by there are things that happen in primaries?
Fear delegates.
Fear delegates.
Yes.
All right. So, Dr. Bawumia, Kennedy Japan, etc. We saw a very strong showing from Kennedy Japan in the last election, even though he did not enter the race early. But he appears to be significantly trailing Dr. Bawumia. What was the reason for that? What factors in your view?
No, I mean, you can't compare directly the results for last year's election with this data. Because this one has undisclosed in it, and I'm undecided in it. If you remove those and realign the numbers, you could see that, I mean, if you compare this like for like, and I think the last poll we did before the primaries last time, in that poll, I think DMB was around 45%. Kennedy was around 25%. And the rest were there. But there were a good chunk who were undecided as well, and those who were not disclosing. So if you compare this one, it's like a similar race compared to last time. And nothing has changed significantly if you do that kind of comparison.
I see. What's the reason people give for supporting Bawumia against persons like Kennedy Japan, who, like you said, is anti-establishment, appears to be speaking the language of the street, etc. What reasons do you glean is
I will pin this down to two factors. One, Bawumia has been the face of MPP since 2008. He's been on every election since then. So he's the familiar face for many people, including the delegates. So that makes it easier for him to be recognized and probably wanting to have him back on the ticket again. But another point, which is the second point, is that the MPP delegates are conservatives. They are much older people, and the older you are, the less vibrant and dynamic and change you want to have. These people want to go with what they know, and they kind of dominate the MPP album. So because of that, they tend not to buy into change messages. And that is what I think Kennedy, if he needs to make an impact, has to drive home and change the mindset.
I see. Now let's get to the Akan block, or the ethnicity bit, which is a very slippery issue, but actually playing a role in all of this.
Yes.
There are 4 Akans against 1 non-Akan, but it does appear that the non-Akan is actually doing better in the Akan areas or amongst the Akan voters than the Akans themselves. We have 2 Ashantis, 1 Easterner, and then 1 Fanti in there. It does appear that the Northerner or the non-Akan is doing better than all of them in the Akan areas. What is accounting for that?
You know, it is still the name.
So you can see that on your screen, voters' preference for MPP leadership, the Akan bloc. Bawumia is around 53%, Kennedy Japan 34%, Duchum 6%, Brandy Champon 4%, and then Kobna Japan 3%.
Look, we must understand the very reason why MPP wanted Bawumia to represent the party in the last election. One is to make sure that not just Akans, but non-Akans see him as welcome him. And they want to de-Akanize somehow the party. So the party, some of them believe that, look, it is important we have a broader appeal. And that broader appeal sometimes means that we have to support somebody who's not one of us. And I think you can see that from what Bawumia is doing in the Akan areas. And indeed, if you look at the other Akan candidates, they are splitting their own vote. If they had joined together forces, you could see that they will probably be around 47. Then we'll have a very tight race. But because they are fragmented, you expect Bawumia to have a lead there.
How about religion? Because we've seen religion also come up a bit. I mean, recently, we saw Reverend Intim Fojo, who is a pastor and MP for Asin South, say that he is a pastor and that God is not a respecter of persons. Dr. Bawumia is the right person to lead the party. And I thought it was strategic because he is a pastor. So if you're talking about religion, this is a leader of a religious group or a religious subsect in the Christian, side of things, coming to endorse a Muslim. How significant is religion in these primaries? Look,
we can pretend to be ostriches in this country, but the data doesn't say so. There are a big number of voters who use religion to vote when they have no any other reason to use to discriminate against a candidate. The polling shows that roughly about 10% of voters say religion is important to them. That 10%. Now, if you have a very close, tightly run election, that could be significant. Now, if you have about 18.5 million votes, then 10% is about 1.8 million. So that is significant. Now, there are people or some certain religious sects that are not too much worried about religion of a candidate. The Orthodox churches, the Presbyterians, the Catholics, the Anglicans and Methodists, they are more liberal in the way they see religion.
But the Pentecostals and
Pentecostals, they are the problem.
And the Charismatics.
They are the problem. I mean, we cannot deny that. That's a reality. That's a fact of life. And they are the ones who are really anti kind of Bawumia in MPP.
But in the past, Bawumia has done quite some work in bridging that gap by, hobnobbing with the leadership of those bodies. We've seen him at places with Duncan Williams, all of these people. I don't know how significant those.
I think that may even have cost him. Because, you see, we don't really have a religious tension in this country.
Yes.
So to try to say that you are bridging the gap suggests that there was a problem in the first place. So that was seen to be...
but he didn't say. But
no, he didn't say, but people read...
saw him,
people read into that.
Close interactions with these people.
People read into that, and that, to some extent, it cost him a bit. I think...
was it not a way of making the Christian community comfortable with him.
But it was misread and misunderstood, and probably to some extent, some of them felt that, look, it was an opportunism.
Wow, I see. Now let's get back to it. The Northern Bloc solidly behind him in the slides, or I mean in the work. We see that Dr. Bawumia pulls 73% among the Northern Bloc regions, the 5 regions of the North. Kennedy Japan makes only 17, Educhum 4, Bradley Champon 4, and then Engineer Kobna Japan just 2%. So the Northerners are actually in for their person. Perhaps they want one of their own to be up there. Of course, one of their own is still up there, but they appear to be more discriminatory in this sense than their accounts of
yes, and being the only Northerner in the race, you expect them to kind of coalesce around him. And then you see fragmentation again among the other candidates. So it's natural that you see him in the North like that and getting the Northern support.
So comparing this to the Akan bloc, that's interesting, because the Akans haven't appeared to coalesce around their candidates. Indeed, when you look at the Akan picture again, when you put everything the Akan candidates are making,
47.
They still don't equal Bawumia's 53.
No.
What's apart from the fact that the NPP wants to de-Akanize, if that's a good phrase to use.
The second reason is that, look, the new entrants into the race have not been successful in chipping away Bawumia's numbers, even in the Akan areas. What we have seen happen is that they are trading vote among themselves. Rather than going to Bawumia's column and get the numbers, they are rather moving from either Kennedy to Educhum, or from Educhum to Bernard Champon. So they might just circulating around. They need to move into somebody's column, which is Bawumia. And at the moment, we haven't seen that happening yet.
So Bawumia's main trump card is the fact that he is known.
Yes.
He's been the face of the party for a long time, and people are comfortable with him because they feel it may not take a lot to market him. He's already marketable, marketed quite well. He's been on the ballot for the last election, and he's the guy to go. That is his main trump card. So if he was, or if you were a new entrant, the dynamics would have changed greatly.
I think so, and that's what the delegates are telling us. I mean, you speak to them, and they tell you why they are choosing this person or that person, even though we are not asking them for reasons why they choose A or B. But in the conversation, they tell you why they are choosing this person, and mostly the reason has been that he's been there for long. We know him; he's been well marketed. If the president bring him again, we think we can have it easier than new candidates.
I see. Now let's look at the voter block, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Dr. Bawumia still leads among the voter, but significantly
lower,
reduced, 44%. Interestingly, Kennedy Japan rises, quite well, 31%. Bradley Champon makes 11. Japan makes 9, and Educhum makes 5%. What accounts for this?
The last election, Kennedy won voter region. It shows that it's still very strong. Now, you look at what Brian and Ajay Japan are getting, almost 20%. I think these numbers are numbers that could have gone to Kennedy, but they didn't go to Kennedy. So they are fragmented. The number of accounts trading vote is really hurting the opposition against Bawumia.
I see. And when you look at the swing regions, Bawumia significantly wins as well. Bawumia wins almost everywhere.
Every block, yes.
Every block Bawumia wins.
Yes.
What does that mean? That the people still comfortable with him?
Yes, numbers are what we are seeing here. Bawumia is 57%, much higher than, almost the same as the national average in terms of what he gets in the swing regions. And Kennedy is slightly above the national average with 29%. So you can see that he does well here. It's because central region is part of this swing regions. And in the central region, he does well. So the numbers he gets in central region kind of propel him to go beyond the national average.
I see. So what should a person like Kennedy, who obviously appears like the second in the race, what should he be doing to bridge the gap, or if possible,
look, I'm not here to advise any campaign, but
from what you hear from
the numbers are saying that Bawumia is close to 50%. So for Ken to win, he needs to drag down Bawumia to lower 40s, or if he can, to upper 38. In that way, you could see a runoff. But where Bawumia is, it is very likely he'll get just a few or handful of those who are undecided, and that could put him over the top. And that is not a good place for Ken to be. Ken needs to drag Bawumia down. We have October, November, December, even January to go. I don't know how he will be able to do that in the next coming months.
Now let's talk about the sample size or the persons you polled. What would be the demographics? What kinds of people did you poll, and what are their expectations of the kinds of leaders they are looking for? Okay,
this leadership question was posed to all Ghanaians, not delegates. Now, if you look at the people we poll, who are typically the average Ghanaian voter, they are much younger population. You know, about 78% of the sample we polled were below 44 years, or 44 and 18 years. That is 78% of them. We asked them what they think about the future leadership of this country, whether they believe Ghana should be led by young leaders or not. 64% of the sample said, yes, Ghana must be led by young leaders. 12% said, no, it shouldn't be led by young leaders. And 24% said they were neutral, whether young or old, they don't care. But majority of them, 64%, said they want to be led by young leaders. And if we just suppose this with the population, which is about 78% below 44, then this is a clear message that will have impact in the future elections of this country.
I see. When you look at the regional breakdown, it does appear that persons in OT and Upper West think that we need more young leaders.
Yes,
actually.
Yes.
I see. Now let's get to the NDC side of things. A number of the NDC hasn't opened nominations. The party is just settling into power, but a number of people have their names being thrown about. And the context really is that the NDC will not repeat John Mahama in the next election. By the end of this term, he would have done his 2 terms, and so that opens the floodgates for persons who want to run or who wants to lead a party to start work. A number of persons came up: Haruna Idrisu, Asiedu Nketia, Ato Forsin, Julius Debra, Okujeto Ablakwa, Eric Opoku, Agric Minister Professor Joshua Labi, Amako Fiboa, Kwame Iwada, Conspio Gabra, and Oko Vanderpoy. But in all of these, it does appear that majority of the people for now appear to be, gravitating towards Haruna Idrisu and Asiedu Nketia and Ato Forsin. Haruna Idrisu hasn't said much lately on whether he's running or not. Of course, nobody has said, but we've seen some movements around for Asiedu Nketia and Julius Zebra especially, having walks, having thank you tours, etc. These are indicative events of persons who want to run. We've not seen anything around Haruna Idrisu. Why then are people thinking that he is the most preferred in the race?
No, that is the view from the street. Who do you prefer? He may decide not to run. But the people are saying that they prefer him to lead. At the moment, around 30% of the vote. So the fact that they prefer that you contest and lead doesn't mean that you would contest. So these are a list of people we believe are capable of running, contesting in NDC. Some of them through backdoor channels, we were informed that they have some interest. And some of them, rightly so, they want to see whether it is worth even starting any activity at all. So for some of them, this is very insightful. And that what they may be thinking that they are may not be what is on the ground. So it kind of helps people to make decisions quickly, not to waste their time going around doing anything. So it provides some sanity into your future aspirants that you may have.
I see. But how do these names come up? Is it that you tell them who do you think will win, or you give them names to them?
Who would you prefer,
yes,
to lead NDC? And
the names come up on their own?
No, we have names that we've given to them. And we also have someone else.
Okay.
If the names that we've given to you, you don't see your choice in it, you say someone else. And someone else, who do you have in mind? Then we have to give a chance to free will, tell us who you want.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, Haruna leads this, but the vice president is not in the list because perhaps her name...
It is our decision. Look, she was in the first survey we did in April. Then after that, she was taken ill. And when she came back, she tried to come back to the government. And as pollsters, sometimes you make some judgment calls. We also looked at how old she would be in 2028 and what the dynamics today are in terms of what we are being told. Remember, 64% of the 78% are saying they want young people, and that tends to skew against that age bracket. So on our own, we felt we should take it out and to see how the race changes with her not be in the race. It's also something that we use as insight to see how her vote dispersed. And then also, look, there are certain names we know will not contest, but they are there for strategic reasons. From certain block, of the voter block, we have a black one there. We have the GAN block, which is the Professor Alabi and Oko van der Poel. And we have the Akan block and Northern block. We want to know the alliances. If this person is not in the race, where does the block move to? For us, it's what makes us clever in projecting who could win in the future. So this data may be seen to be useless, but for us, it's a gold mine.
Haruna Idrisu, was it last week or so, met the vice president met him, and in their conversation, he said he was praying for her or hoping that she would rise to the topmost position as president. Given that he is leading your polls and he is wishing somebody would take up that is interesting, is that not?
Oh yes, it's interesting. Maybe if we introduce the vice president back in, we'll see maybe the race may change. But look, I think this country is looking ahead. Now, if you go into the data about who would you prefer to lead the country, the young or old leaders, interesting thing is that, look, the demography of the people, let me tell you, among those who said they want young to lead, every demography by age, by popularity, say young people. People between 18 and 24, 73% of them want young leaders. 25 to 34, 68% young leaders. 35 to 44, 60% young leaders. 45 to 54, 57% young leaders. 55 to 64, 62% young leaders. Even 65 people want young leaders to lead the country. It's a consensus across every demography of age in this country. They probably have seen what the old people have performed. They want to try their own age mates.
I see. So we have Atufos in there. We have Julius Debra there. We have Okudjota Blakwa, etc. Do you know whether, of course, Mahama hasn't said he's supporting anybody. He's just focusing on his work for now.
No.
But does it matter who he supports?
Look, it could have consequences, both plus and negatives. And I think we shouldn't think that we can hoodwink any group of people, voters of this country, to go a certain direction.
If he's very popular in the party, and it gives indication that this is a person he's comfortable with,
it will have impact. You see, the impact could be negative and positive. There are those who will be happy that he's given an endorsement to somebody. And there are those who feel the party will be torn apart if he does that. Remember in Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta went against Ruto. He went to endorse a candidate. He went, but the party didn't go with him. Let that be a lesson.
I see. Then other names like Oko van der Poel, Spielgabra, people think it's a spent force. It's been around for a long time. It's lost the spark, etc. So it's interesting that he finds himself here. Oko van der Poel, not much activity around him. Also quite interesting that he finds himself in the numbers, I mean in the names here.
Look, what we intend to do is that going forward, we don't want to have a long list of aspirations or people who in the end will not feature. So there will be a rule we will have to apply that if you don't make in at least 5% of the national support, you will be among someone else. So that we have a very sensible list. So this list that we have, you can see that the top 5 are Blakwa, Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, Atufosin, Already Nketia and Haruna. This may be the list that we'll finally use in the future, but there will be room for someone else. And if that someone else keep popping up and doing a good number, that will add him to the
Let's talk about Already Nketia. He's chairman of the party. One of the most popular, if not, I mean, apart from the president, the most well-known or popular persons in the NDC. He has power. He wields quite some power. National chairman, been general secretary for many, many years. He's overseeing the election of all these delegates, etc. And he will, as chairman, oversee the election of these delegates, etc. People think he has a stronghold on the delegates, and it's very likely that will go in his favor, or that will be to his advantage.
So far, we haven't seen any polling yet. You see, perception may not be reality. We have not released any public poll on the delegates. So let's wait and see. But I believe that, you see, there's going to be a demographic changes in NDC delegates. At the moment, NDC delegates, they are a lot younger than the MPP delegates. And they will go into election to elect their policy executives. And it's more likely to get younger because of what we've seen on the ground. Now, if these delegates get younger, it will really make it hard for the older guys. So the demographic changes, there's nothing you can do about it. It will happen naturally. But when that happens, is this the moment of the time that determines who lead NDC.
Daniel is texting to ask why Gusitano is not featuring in the list.
I don't want to say it, but we had him there and we got him out.
Why did you get him out? 24-hour economy, major plank of the government.
We were contacted.
That they should take him out?
Yes.
Because he's not interested?
Whatever the reason was, we took him out. We gave people chance to add to the list or take us from the list. And he was taken out.
I see. And the NDC generally appears, as we sit or as we speak, to be quite more popular even in swing regions in the general two race. I mean, the general party to party,
the
head-to-head race or polling. What, in your view, accounts for that? Is it because the party is new and the party is still enjoying the goodwill, or what?
Look, MPP is in a very difficult situation right now. And it starts from the party affiliation of people who openly say they are MPP on the street today compared to NDC. Openly on the street today, if you encounter voters, 42% of them will say we belong to NDC. MPP at the moment is 27%. That is 10 points lower than where they have been, where they were in October 2024. So MPP as a brand has been bruised. And that is affecting how their candidates would perform in the future. Now, they have to get their acts together and go up in the numbers in terms of party affiliation. Otherwise, it will be tough for them. And what we have seen in the head-to-head is a reflection of that, and also the perception of performance of the MPP in the last administration. That performance perception will hang on their neck for some time. They have to find a way of jettisoning it.
I see. So, in the head-to-head, it does appear that for all the candidates you pitched against the MPP's various candidates, the NDC appears to be doing better. Now, let's look at Haruna again and the JM factor. Haruna is from the northern region. JM is also from the northern bloc. There's the talk on the streets that maybe a lot of Ghanaians will not want people from the same region to lead them twice. Did that find expression in your way?
Look, those may be misconception among voters. If that was really what on people's mind, he wouldn't be leading the pack in terms of what you saw. But again, I can say that if the race consolidates, you can see the accounts coming together and that will give them a bump. But look, we are in the Gen Z era. Gen Zs who are less tribalistic and less religious, even though the sentiment of religion in our politics is mostly among older voters. Now, the problem I can see is that, look, it's typically for NDC. Unlike MPP base is about 65% Akan. So they can choose Akan any day, any time, there will be no problem. But with the NDC, it's a smaller group of 20% there, 30 here, 19 there. So you need the collection of all the blocks to come together to help you. if you are in that situation, you tend to compromise a lot. And look, we have given you guys a 10. If you are done, the other groups, 3 blocks will say, oh, now it is our 10. So I think for the delegates, it is much more of a delegate issue than a national issue. So the delegates may think that, okay, Northerners have had their 10, let's try other blocks.
I see. This is the big issue on 97.3 City FM. We're also live on channel. You can join us via our WhatsApp lines displayed on the screen and on 0549 986 996 020 444 7033. I'll be happy to share your views with the rest of the world. Musa Dankwa is the executive director at the Global Info Analytics, conducts polls, and he's conducted he's done some work in October, and we are looking at these works. So, I mean, let me speak to Hamza, but before that, Jones Adoboy in La says, good morning, Salam. Musa Dankwa has in recent times won all the credibility when it comes to surveys, but I want to tell him that with NDC, it is too early. He must allow the president to focus. The micro minority calling for some judges' resignation shows that they are not serious as a party. Even if some judge manages to get 0% DSP, what percentage did the MPP manage to get in 8 years? They should give us a break. Well, that's two things put in one. Hamza, I'll come to you. The major concern, which a lot of people have raised really, is that for the NDC, it's too early. Leave the government to focus. And that doing this will be a distraction to governance.
Selo, we are a private, independent company. We do what our clients want. We have done this since 2019. We started the polling after Nanado has won the election. Just about a year after he's won the election, we started it. There are people, in fact, our clients, global clients, who are looking into 2028 and beyond, right? They want to have a feel of what the country is thinking. I don't think any person in government or in NDC should be distracted because of the polls. You have a job to do, focus on the job. Ghanaians are talking. I'm just telling you what they are saying. It doesn't mean that you leave your job and jump and start campaigning. That's not what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to inform and also help people to make decisions. Look, as we speak to you, we have been approached by some political party investors. To
skew the vote?
No, to see the outlook.
Okay.
As to who they can support in the future. Right? They want to know now. They're not saying it's too early.
So you're making money.
We're not making any money. We're having data. We're having data. People have come to look. There are companies, people like Fetch Solutions, other big research companies. They're not waiting for NDC to say that we are ready. No, they don't wait for NDC.
They want to know what's happening.
They want to know what's happening in the country.
So they can.
NDC can decide to take their eye off the poll. That is fine. They can do that, and they should do that. Look, it is much easier for Mahama to call his people to order than to call me to order, but he doesn't control me. Yeah,
but for example, if you have an Asidun Ketia, who we hear will run or may run, doing thank you tour, if there are others in government who also have their eyes on it, they may obviously be distracted because this man is a free man. He's doing his party work and dealing with the people who eventually will vote. But
you see, I think next week we'll put out some data from polls we've done among NDC delegates about what they think about early jostling positions. Did they assess whether what they were doing was winning them vote or costing them vote? You don't join something because you think the person is leading or the person would come. You must also be guided by your own data. Some of the things that the early movers were doing were really annoying voters and even delegates. If it's an annoying delegate and annoying voters, it's not going to annoy to your advantage.
I see. This other message, says, I'm as a proud delegate, I'm not surprised by Musa Dankwa's post showing Dr. Bawumia in the lead. His vision, humility, and proven track record make him the clear choice to unite our party and lead Ghana into the brighter future. Dr. Bawumia represents competence, innovation, and hope, and I believe delegates across the country will rally behind him come January 31. He's the people's choice, and together we shall make history. Well, what do you think from your work is going for Bawumia? Of course, his longevity, but what is not going for him? What is going for him in the internal party race?
What's not going for him
even in the national
I think the result of the last election. I think the defeat was humbling.
But, you know, at the time Mahama lost in 2016, that was unprecedented, huge margin at the time. Only that this has surpassed it.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was a record. But he's come back quite strongly.
I mean, we're yet to see. But for now, he's carrying the baggage of the last election results, the baggage of Nanado's performance. And recently, I mean, the DDEP, people are still scared. So those things are fresh in people's minds.
Yes, but he has said many times with that number that he was not a guy. You know, and these days we hear a few things about his disagreements with some of these policies, but he had to play ball. I mean, he had to support the government.
We saw what William Ruto did in Kenya.
But the Kenyan situation is very different.
I'm just... Ghana, really. He disagreed with the boss and openly rebelled against the boss. So the people trusted that he wasn't in keeping quiet.
But, you know, the Kenyan system,
So,
Nigeria system are quite different from our system.
It's a price he paid for keeping quiet. You can't eat your cake and have it. He paid the price for being quiet.
In the political system, that rewards loyalty.
If I was him, it doesn't matter. Now he's paying for the price of being too loyal.
So he should have resigned when he didn't.
No, not resign, but his voice should have been made clear that on these matters I disagree with my party.
But in fact, we heard him in the e-levy, before the e-levy. He said it was a no-no. Later it was done. Of course, knowing that he couldn't openly disagree with the party or the government when that decision was made, couldn't we have used his earlier position to indicate where he stood on that?
I remember in the UK we have people called the spin doctors. They are political strategists who can spin well. If you have a very clever political strategist, he can find a way out for you. In a way you look or come across as, you know, being dissenting at the same time part of the team. So you must, there's a balance you need to have. People didn't see that. And it was difficult for him to be trusted that when he said that he wasn't in charge, he was a driver's mate. And that really didn't go down well.
I see. That's Musa Dankwa. But, you know, Musa Dankwa started credibility, but now he appears to be